Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. It has been a huge year for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This universe has exploded exponentially, and I thought it'd be a good idea to take a moment and talk about everything we've gotten from Marvel in 2018. So quick note so everyone knows where I'm coming from. When it comes to shows, what I'm counting came out in 2018 is what shows ended in 2018, if that makes sense. So, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5 started in 2017, but the finale was in 2018. Same with Runaways. So that's what I'm counting coming out in 2018 is when it ended. You know, movies and the Netflix stuff, pretty simple. But anyways, it's been a massive year. We're finally done with everything from Marvel this year, so let's take a moment and rank everything, and I'll also do quick reviews of anything I didn't actually do a full review of. Let's get into it.
Number 10, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5.
So if you're a longtime viewer of this show, you know that I'm not a fan of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. It promised a lot of stuff that it did not deliver on. It's supposed to be like this cute part of this cohesive universe, and what happens in the show matters because it'll work in the movies and vice versa, and they've yet to really deliver on that.
Next week on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Iron Man just flew by.
Oh, can I see?
You know what? Just take my word for it.
I don't want to go into all the stuff about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like that, but there's a lot wrong with it, and they've yet to ever address or fix any of it. But this season really boils down to it felt like they're throwing a whole bunch of shit at the walls to see what would stick. So the season starts off as they go into the future and in space! And so now they're in 2091 and on a space station orbiting a destroyed Earth. And they almost got me there. They almost got me because they look out the window in like the first or second episode and you see a cracked open Earth, and I'm like, oh, this is like an alternate future if the Avengers don't stop Thanos. Oh, what a cool way to tie this all in. Oh, no, it's Daisy. Of course it's fucking Daisy that does it, because why wouldn't it be Daisy? This whole fucking show revolves around Daisy for some goddamn reason. Sorry, but I have a big problem with her character. So the first half of the season takes place in the future, where they're like been captured by this Kree dictator who's selling off Inhumans, and there's a little bit of human resistance, and humans are also slaves, and it's like this dystopian crazy time. And then they find their way back to the present time, and they try and avert this future that's happening, but at the same time people are experimenting with gravitonium from the first season, and that's become dangerous. And it gets put into General Talbot, who becomes Gravitron or Graviton or whatever. And it's up to our heroes to stop him, and the team's going through things, and that's the season. Like, it was just a clusterfuck of let's try this. And in my opinion, none of it really worked. They had like their 100th episode. It was like this fear toxin or this fear world or whatever, where they're revisiting old villains, but they weren't real, but it gives them a chance to, look them back and how far we've come as a show and all these ex-villains. And yeah, you know who did that for their 100th episode? Fucking Arrow did that for their 100th episode. It was the exact 100th episode for Arrow. Just replace fear toxin with virtual reality, and it was the 100th episode of Arrow. But Arrow did it better. On top of, they had a wedding between Fitz and Simmons, and I don't give a shit about either of those characters. They're both really annoying, and they both really have odd, like, tendencies, and they don't really continue on with a character. And yeah, that's kind of the problem with this show, is I don't give a shit about any of these characters because they either have no growth or they jump wildly depending on what they need to do that season. Like, Simmons used to be like had brain damage from what happened in the first season, and that kind of got washed away really quickly. And no, that's not actually an issue anymore. Again, I don't want to go into everything that's wrong with this whole show. It's overall, it's just a bad show. But where we ended is Coulson. His injury from the first Avengers is actually slowly killing him, and so him and May, the pilot, who actually became a couple now, are living on Tahiti, and the Shield agency is being controlled, or not, has new leadership, and they're going to help people. So the finale for this was supposed to be the series finale because they didn't know if they're getting renewed, but they did end up getting renewed for a 6th season. So it's still continuing, even though I hoped it would have gotten canceled. But yeah, this didn't win me over any extra. I might be bitter on this show. I know it has its fans. When I was looking up for recaps of the season to try and remember what happened, because it ended a while ago, there was a bunch of fan stuff. So it does have its fans, but I do not care for it. And I do think it's the weak link in this entire universe. Outside of Inhumans. Inhumans is the biggest weak link. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the longest continuous bad link.
Number 9, Runaways, Season 1.
So I've mentioned this show a few times, how it had really no effect on me, and it's still that. It was a solid season overall, and I enjoyed it, but it didn't. I can't remember a lot from it. I did like the character of Nico a lot, and the dinosaur effects were really good, actually. And it was genuinely compelling, but just didn't leave an impression on me. So Runaways is a group of teens that find out that their parents are part of this cult that are using a machine that turns runaway teens into energy that's going to revive the leader of their cult. And at the same time, they catch them doing this, and begins this whole process of trying to figure out what they are. And at the same time, a few of them are developing their own powers or their own skills, and it becomes this group of teens against their parents. I haven't really read the comics. It's not really my bag. Nothing against it. Just nothing I really ever got into. So I don't know how much it relates to the comics. But as a show, it was solid but unremarkable. And I think it is due to the finale, which sort of ended kind of on a whimper, then a bang. And then also a pet peeve for me for this entire universe, and I'll be mentioning this a lot, if it doesn't tie into the rest of the universe, because this is again supposed to be this whole big cohesive universe, then it doesn't leave as much of an effect on me. They really didn't mention anything else going on in this universe. Nothing with Avengers, anything. It was really self-contained, although it did take place in Los Angeles, so it is different coasts than a lot of the stuff going on in the movies. But yeah, it didn't mention anything else going on in any of the movies. It was very self-contained, and you got to mention those things. This is supposed to be a single cohesive universe, and you got to at least drop some lines. Just some mentions of things. That's all I'm asking. But I'm curious to see what it does for a second season. It was renewed for a second season, which actually is starting in a couple of weeks, actually, I believe. So this is on Hulu. It's worth checking out if you haven't yet. It's all good acting, and it's a huge step up from what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s doing. But again, it just wasn't very memorable in the end.
Number 8, Luke Cage, Season 2.
So I did a whole review already, 30 minutes on Luke Cage, so I'm not going to go into details, but this was a step down from its previous season. Although I liked Bushmaster as the villain, and I do like where it ended up with Luke Cage kind of maybe being ahead of the Mafia now, which is kind of cool. Although we're not going to see a follow-up to that because it was canceled, but what can you do? But I didn't feel like Mike Coulter did as much in this, and it felt like more treading water rather than anything new or doing anything interesting with the character. It was just more of another season. It It didn't really push Luke to any new ends. It didn't introduce anything new or interesting into the season within its own show or within this universe as a whole. And again, it left out any ties to the greater Marvel universe, so it's not a lot there to it. It became more of a slog than the previous seasons. It's fine, but it was a step down from what it previously did.
Number 7, Iron Fist, Season 2.
So this one is actually a step up from what we previously got in seasons. I love Davos as the villain. I love Danny taking responsibility for the shit he does. And I love getting rid of the excuses why he can't Iron Fist. All season 1 was, I can't because my chi's too weak, or these drugs they gave me, or whatever. I can't Iron Fist. They got rid of that. They just straight up went into it, and I like that a lot for what it did. And it tied into some stuff from Avengers Age of Ultron, which is cool. Overall, just a stronger season. It did, again, feel, not like it did a whole lot. And I do like the way it ended a lot. It really made me excited for Season 3, which we're not getting because it was canceled as well. Hopefully we get to see these guys in other shows, but yeah, they've been canceled. But anyways, I think it did a lot more with the character, but it still wasn't to blow me away like, oh, that's amazing. It was more just like, okay, this is where you should have been at the end of last season. Like where this one ended, you're like a season behind. You should have ended last season like that. So, yeah, it's fine.
Number 6, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So a solid movie and a fun movie, but overall just kind of fluff. There wasn't a lot of meat to this movie. I like the sympathetic ghost villain, and everyone loves Paul Rudd. He's a lot of fun, but it didn't carry much emotional weight. It was pretty light and airy, and it just felt a little short like that. There's certain things I liked a lot. I liked that Bill Foster didn't turn into like the big scary villain when Ghost's like, oh, we're gonna steal his daughter. He's like, no, we're not doing that. It's like, oh. So I like that. But in the end, this movie kind of wrote its own how it should have ended episode. If you watch those on Netflix. But basically, if they just stopped for a second and Ghost just worked with Ant-Man and Hank Pym, and they worked with her, they could have all solved each other's issues and there would be no problem at all. There was no point to the conflict. There was no reason for a conflict. It was just, well, that's a thing. I think that's what weakened it the most, is that there's no reason that Hank Pym couldn't have helped out Ghost, and vice versa. That's what kind of weakened this movie the most. But overall, it was fun. Had some good moments, some good laughs and things, and some decent action. And of course, the after credit scene. Everyone talks about how much it ties into Avengers, and that is awesome. I loved that. So there was some good stuff overall, but not the strongest movie.
Number 5, Jessica Jones, Season 2.
So I might be slightly biased because I absolutely love Kristen Ritter and everything she does. She is amazing. But I do still think this is a good show. I like the idea that her mom has the same powers as her, but like a stronger, crazier version. So you can kind of see what Jessica could slip into if she's not careful with what she does. I like that. It didn't have as strong a villain as the first season. The first season was amazing, so it didn't quite live up to that. But I still think it was overall solid. What Jessica goes through in this was great. And, keeping it this smaller, interesting issue, I like that. And things they did with the side characters, also really good. Overall, it was just good. It was just, everything was just good. Nothing overtly negative. Some outstanding things, but it was just kind of good. More details again in my full review of this, but overall I enjoyed it. and I look forward to going back to it again.
Number 4, Cloak and Dagger, Season 1.
Oh man, this came right out of nowhere and on a channel I've never heard of. Freeform? What is that? It took me a while to even find this show to watch it, but man, it was good. I think this is everything that Runaways wanted to do, but kind of missed on. It had some great teenage drama, and it was just an overall solid show. So, Cloak and Dagger is about two kids that were in a explosion from the Roxxon Corporation. I'll get into that more in a minute. And they eventually grow up and in their teen years develop powers because of it. Dagger can throw light knives as well as access all your hopes and actually steal your hopes. And Cloak can teleport and raise your biggest fears. So they work together, hope and fear. And it's really cool. They're perfect strangers, but then they kind of find each other again and work with each other. And it's really cool. There's not like a big twirly mustache, like I'm going to take over the world guy. It was more of a smaller dramatization. It was kids' issues. And I like that. It didn't need to have a big villain. It was a drama. It was about what was going on in their lives, and I like that. And all the characters in this are amazing. The acting is great. I really enjoyed this show a lot. On top of, it ties into a lot of the universe. So the Roxxon Corporation is the secret glue that holds the Marvel Universe together. It was mentioned in Agent Carter, it was mentioned in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was mentioned in Daredevil, and it was mentioned in at least one of the Iron Man movies, if not two of them. There are this corporation that's all in the background and slowly touching everything in this Marvel Universe, and I like that. So it had that tie. On top of, mentioning things from Luke Cage. And in one sentence, they mentioned the Rands and the Starks. Like, that's all I needed. That's all I needed from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just mention things. That's all I needed from any of the Netflix stuff. Just mention things. And that went so long for me just to have them mention that Danny Rand exists in this universe. So does Tony Stark. We both all exist in this universe. Thank you! Thank you so much. It's like, that's all I wanted. A minor little Easter egg to make sure we know this is in this universe. Now, there wasn't like anything specific to where it takes place within this universe, but I'll take what I can get. But the New Orleans background and backdrop was fantastic in this. Some things dealing with voodoo. Again, I praise the show a lot. It's fantastic. And it has been renewed for a second season, so I'm very curious where they go from here. So some really good stuff and a very surprising show. I was ready to write this one off and just kind of, skip it, like, oh, I'll get through it, whatever. But no, I ended up really liking this show.
Number 3, Daredevil, Season 3.
Matt Murdock is back with a vengeance. Yes, Daredevil Season 3 kicked major ass. It had amazing action, some awesome character development, really pushing Matt Murdock to his breaking point, bringing back the Kingpin, introducing Bullseye. Everything is awesome out this. It was a fantastic show. I enjoyed it wholeheartedly. Daredevil really kills it. I really hope it gets another season. I'd love to see where they continue with this. Or, I just want to see more Daredevil. I want to see where he goes from here. So it'd be very interesting. It didn't really tie again to the other universe. They didn't really mention anything going on with Avengers or any of these big events happening. Which is a bit of a downside for it. But it gave us something else in return. Some good action. And got your mind off that this, isn't mentioning the other universe or anything like that. So overall, I really enjoyed it. Top 3 for sure. I think I liked it better than the second season. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. But it was another very solid season for Daredevil. It's a kick-ass show, and I love it.
Number 2. Black Panther.
So yes, if you know everything that came out from Marvel this year, you know the last two are movies, proving that they are kicking major ass with their movies, and that is always their strong suit, is the movies. And Black Panther killed it. It took a character that not many people knew about and made it this character that people love. Kids dress up for Halloween. Like, it became a household name within one movie. How awesome is that? They killed it with this. Great action, great effects. Some great subtext about minorities in America, amazing villain in Killmonger, played by the amazing Michael B. Jordan. Everything worked about this movie. It is so good. I really love everything it did with it. It's just another great entry to the Marvel Universe. It's definitely way up there with all the movies. Really, I can't praise it enough. It is a fantastic movie. I loved it. I've seen it multiple times, so it survives multiple viewings. It is great.
Number 1. Avengers: Infinity War.
Of course, number 1 was going to be Infinity War. Why wouldn't it have been Infinity War? The culmination of 10 years of this universe just all together in one amazing movie. Great action, great effects. Thanos was an amazing villain. You get to see interactions from characters that never interacted before. You get to see this entire universe all come together, except the Netflix and the TV show stuff. But anyways, all this whole universe all come together in this amazing event. It was just fantastic. I loved it. And the Snapture is going to be another one of these tentpole moments in this universe. Kevin Feige talked about how there's different moments within this universe that became like standards of something the world looks at and is a central point of this universe. The first one was Tony Stark saying, "I am Iron Man." And then you had the Battle of New York with the Chitauri invasion. And now I really don't think we've had another one until the Snapture. This is a thing that's rang throughout the entire universe. And I'm curious to see what they do with Avengers 4, but good God, this movie was amazing. I mean, to have people crying in the theater after, sitting in the hallway of the movie theater on the floor crying, that's how you know you've done a great movie. That's how you know this universe is amazing. And that's why this is number 1. It is what this universe is about. Just these big events, and this is one of an amazing movie for it. So that was 2018 in Marvel. Good Lord, it did blow up, and it is getting incredibly hard to keep this up because, as you know, I got to watch all of them because I have a PhD in MCU. So if you didn't know that. So I got to keep up with them. So next year, of course, we have 3 movies. We got Captain Marvel, Avengers 4, and Spider-Man Far From Home. And then we have season 2s of both Runaways and Cloak and Dagger. They're both coming back. And then we have Jessica Jones season 3. It's filming right now and has been safe from any of the cancellations. And as far as I know, Punisher season 2 is still on its way. On top of that, with the Disney streaming service coming out, they've mentioned shows for Marvel and kind of big names in it. A Loki standalone miniseries, a Scarlet Witch standalone miniseries, and a Bucky Barnes and Falcon team-up kind of miniseries. So I'm really curious what they do with those. Those are huge names, where they actually have to get the actors from the movies to be in this. So it'll be a shift from anything we've seen from Netflix or the TV shows. And I'm really curious what they do with that. I'm very excited. Oh yeah, we get Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 6 next year too. Not excited for that. Next year, hopefully be just as good. I'll wrap it all up again at the end of next year. But what did you think of Marvel in 2018? Did you get a chance to see everything? Let me know your ranking in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up because it's a lot of work to keep up on these guys, and I need the thumbs up to keep me going. And share this video with anyone who's fallen behind in the Marvel Universe so they know what's going on so they can keep up with future stuff. But I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots.